Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa. Well, June is an important month because it is Aphasia Awareness Month, and here to talk more about it, I am joined by the chairman of the board of the Aphasia Centre here in Ottawa, Nabil Ould-Brahim. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. In fact, if we could start it off, I brought you a pin.
You did?
To represent the Aphasia Centre of Ottawa.
I will toss that on while we have our chat here. Tell me, Nabil, what is aphasia for those that I'm sure everyone has heard of it, but maybe people aren't as familiar as they should be.
Absolutely. Awareness is very, very important. The way that I describe it, and one of the easiest ways to really help people kind of grasp it, is last summer we heard about Bruce Willis having to step away from acting and directing.
Right.
He had aphasia. And so aphasia is a communication disorder that affects your ability to speak, read, write, and understand. And it does not discriminate on what your profession is or your age. It can affect people as young as 3, and I think the oldest that we've ever treated is 103. So a very broad 100-year span.
So what are some of the causes then?
So aphasia comes in 2 flavors. So there's sudden onset. Usually that comes from a stroke. So about 100,000 people a year survive a stroke incident, and a third of them, so over 33,000 every year, will have aphasia from their stroke. And then the other component, which will affect the much broader range group, is primary progressive aphasia. So that's a neurodegenerative disorder that slowly gets progressively worse over time.
Is it, I wonder, is the diagnosis sometimes difficult?
My understanding is it is difficult in certain scenarios. When it comes from a stroke, it tends to be a lot easier since we have such a wonderful stroke program here in Ottawa.
Right.
But coming from primary, it could be diagnosed as something else. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the people to get the care and the services that they need.
What about treatments? What treatments are available out there?
That's a great question. So the center is world-renowned for creating a primary progressive program. They really like to focus on the family. So you can conceptualize it as an individual who gets aphasia overnight on the sudden onset. They lose some of their ability to speak and talk. And so it's not a lack of intellect. It's just as if you put a filter. Someone now has taken some of the words out of your mouth. You read the same words, but they just don't get processed the same way. And so what the center does is that they bring that individual in, they give them an assessment, and then they go one step further because you don't have a difficulty of communicating on your own, you have difficulty communicating with others. So they really focus on the family aspect. So they will go and sit with the family. They will talk to the adult children of the individual that has aphasia because it affects an entire family. And then they will help them with communication strategies and communication techniques within the family so they feel less alone and more situated. And then we bring them into groups where they're able to communicate with other people that have the same challenges, and they help them with having CDAs, which will kind of give them some help and some pointers. They might do some keywording, or they might slowly pronounce things and exaggerate the way that they pronounce them in order to make them feel as though they're just having a normal conversation.
Yeah, I had a family member that has gone through a stroke and is, has this same thing. And you're right with that, with the speech. It's how did they tell my father is speaking with intent all the time.
Yes.
Use be very intentional in the way that you talk to each other, and that's something that we had to learn as a family. It's wonderful to hear that the center's there to help with those sort of things. Can somebody fully recover from aphasia?
My understanding is no.
Okay.
It is a thing that you are forever changed, and that you learn to cope with and adapt a little bit, but you more or less plateau, and it slowly progressively gets worse over time.
The work that you do, where do you get the funding for the center?
That's a great question. We are very fortunate to get some funding from the Ontario government, but it doesn't go far enough. And so we really rely on donors at home, corporate donors, in order to really help kind of bring in the other portion of the revenue to keep us afloat.
Right.
So it helps, the province really helps kind of get you the first couple introductory courses or like sessions, but to have the ongoing aspect, it's either the families that pay for it or the donations that come in that help fund those that are underprivileged.
Well, I imagine then you have to raise funds yourself, and you do that through many different ways, but you do have a fundraiser coming up. We were just talking about the importance of, comedy and bringing laughter in probably more than ever before. Tell me what you guys have planned.
We do. We have a comedy night on June 15th at Absolute Comedy. Let's see if I can get these tickets up and lined up. They're right over here. And so we have a wonderful fundraiser coming up with Absolute Comedy helping us out. There's going to be some wonderful comedians, great Ottawa talent, and we're just going to fundraise. Most of the tickets go towards the Aphasia Centre of Ottawa.
Excellent.
And you can buy those at aphasiaottawa.org/ha-ha-ha.
I love it. That's great. Before I let you go, maybe just some advice for people at home. I know you touched on it briefly, but just interacting with somebody that has aphasia. What advice can you give to our viewers?
I would say patience is key. And again, remind yourself, it's not a lack of intellect, it is a difficulty in communicating. So really take the time to enunciate your words and seek help from the Aphasia Centre of Ottawa when it comes to, we have some caregiver programs that can really help you with your loved ones, whether they can afford the help or not. So you can really come in and they will give you that advice to be able to better communicate with your loved ones.
Why did you get involved?
I got involved because my mother-in-law works there, and we were living with her for a little bit while we were doing some home renos, and we were having dinner as a regular, and I did not want to hear about the same problems over and over again. I decided it's gonna get fixed in one way, shape, or form, and so I joined the board about 3 years ago, and 2 months ago I became the chairman of the board.
Excellent.
We are also actively looking for new board members, specifically that have the skills within the legal profession or previous healthcare providers or know how to do Ontario Health Team funding. That would be fantastic for us. They can apply at aphasiaottawa.org/board.
Excellent. Really appreciate the time today, Nabil. Thanks so much
Likewise.
for joining us. Again, that fundraiser at Absolute Comedy, June 15th, 7:30 p.m. And I'll give you a reminder at the end of the show of that website as well. We'll be right back after this.